Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, in the race for Washoe County Sheriff, we have a fortunate situation as voters since both candidates have extensive experience with the office. So in this episode, we'll learn about the positions and policies that set them apart. First up is Heidi Howe. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ariana.
Okay, so you spent 26 years with the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, 26 years with the Sheriff's Office.
And then you retired recently?
Yeah, April of 2017 is when I retired as a captain.
So why run for sheriff?
You know, I had great opportunities in my career. I started back in 1988 with the Reno Police Department, was a reserve with them, then full-time. And back then it was part of a tax initiative, the Safety 88 tax initiative, and they were really trying to get diversity going in the agency. At that time there were 313 sworn staff, 13 were women. So although they had great ideas on diversity, they weren't quite there yet. And I just felt that my personality worked better over at the Sheriff's Office. And I went over there and things were a bit different. There are a lot more women in the agency, probably because there is a jail. So they have more women to run the female areas of the jail. So there are just a lot more women.
Do you find that women are better represented in the Sheriff's Office now than they were back then?
I think it's about the same. I haven't seen a huge shift. I believe initially there were higher numbers when I first got hired there because they just consolidated the jail from the 3 different jails of Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County at the time. And then the numbers dropped a little bit. It tends to sit right around 16% of the commission's staff.
So kind of circling back, why the decision to run for sheriff then when, you know, your career was finished as of, you know?
Right. So there was actually a real reason as to why I did this. As I rose up from deputy to sergeant to lieutenant to captain, I believed that once I got to the level of captain, I was chosen to be a leader, that I would be allowed to be a leader in the organization. And what I discovered is, yeah, I was responsible for my bureau and I had people who worked for me, but the only way that you were going to be able to make true change was from the top down. I still had levels of bureaucracy above me. I had ideas of things that I wanted to accomplish, and I could not get people to budge on it. Now you would have people say, well, then you're not very good at convincing people. Well, there's a certain level that you beat your head against the wall and you can't make that change. And I felt the only way I'd be able to do that is, part of it was retire, because if you're going to speak out about things that you want to change, I think it's unfair to do that to the, talking about the person that you're currently working for. And I want to be free to speak and say my thoughts and my ideas without offending the person that I'm working for.
So then what would you say is the top reason or top few reasons, issues that you care about most in changing?
Well, first one is going to be, we are growing in this community and our public safety is not ready. We have fewer deputy sheriffs that are working for the Sheriff's Office right now than we did in 2001. We've never recovered the positions that we lost in the recession, and we have 100,000 more people in our community. And I would submit the same budget requests every year for staffing, and it wouldn't budge. It wouldn't budge. We need to strategically plan. We need to have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan.
Now the biggest problem obviously when you're dealing with staffing is the budget. So in your position, is it acquiring more money for the office or is it using the money that you have differently?
It's both. It's both. Before you can go in front of the county commission and say, hey, we need more money, you better make sure that you're placing the people that you already have working for you in the right positions. You need to take a look at what your requirements are by statute as a sheriff of what you have to do. You need to make sure that you don't have people working in what I would call a fluff position, and that might offend somebody, but there are specialized units that might not be things that are required by statute. Let's take care of the basics first, and then if we have the ability to have those specialized units, we do that, and maybe we do that smarter. Maybe work more collaboratively with other agencies in our community that might have some of the staffing that we might not have, and work together instead of having duplication of services and then siloing our efforts. and I think we can work together better.
So then, would that be a pretty dramatic restructuring?
I don't think so. I think it's moving some pieces around, taking a look at what we have going on, and then also working really closely with the county commission. They want public safety too. This isn't something that they're going, oh, this isn't what we want. They're struggling trying to make the budget work, but it's about having good relationships with each other and having that strategic plan to work together.
Okay, now we know that the jail has had some issues with overcrowding in the past. What's your solution to that?
So we have a lot of folks that are coming into the jail that really don't belong there. Now, obviously, we have people that are committing crimes in our community. They belong in the county jail, but we also have a lot of folks that are struggling with mental illness, substance use disorders, co-occurring disorders, which is both of them put together, and they commit what I call low-level, non-violent misdemeanor crime. And instead of going to resources in the community that could actually deal with those issues, they come to the county jail, and we end up having to deal with it. So some of the things I want to accomplish while I'm there, I just put out a press release for a Healthy Jails initiative, and part of that is working with local providers, local hospitals, nonprofits, to start taking a look at our medical and mental health care in the facility. Right now we're spending $7 million a year on that contract for a private for-profit vendor that comes in and provides the services, and their performance has been inconsistent, to put it nicely. And I think we can do a better job with people that are invested in our community because they're local. If we can stabilize people with their mental illness, with their substance use disorders, they're less likely to recommit crime. They're less likely to bog up our emergency rooms because they're more stable. And I think we can do warm handoffs to the community. I also think we can do diversion programs to where peace officers would have the opportunity to take these individuals to other locations where they can be connected to resources rather than come to the jail. Now, what does that mean? Lots of work. I'm not afraid of work. I've already been talking to people for the last 15 months. I have been working with some of these leaders and having these discussions.
And you think it's feasible?
I think it's absolutely feasible. They do ask me the question, do we have the money for this? And I said, well, we're already spending $7 million a year. So I think we can take those funds and utilize them locally better and save money and ultimately save lives.
Okay. Gun violence has been a hot topic, obviously, for a while now. Where do you stand on universal background checks, gun control, that sort of thing?
So obviously, hot button topic. A lot of people have opinions on that. I am an evidence-based person. First of all, it's not the sheriff's job to write the law. It's our job to enforce the law. So having us weigh in on that subject, yes, it's nice to have an opinion on it, but ultimately we don't get to change that law. But if we're going to take a look at it, I do things like look at there's a RAND report study. It's a nonprofit think tank. They spent 2 years and $1 million researching gun policy across America. And what I saw are some evidence-based issues that aren't connected to emotion, that are connected to facts of what might work and what might not work. So I take a look at those, and what I want to do is have public safety. So talking about gun control, let's talk about gun safety. Let's talk about having a safe community. What does that look like? And one of the things that I took a look at is we had a bill, Senate Bill 387 in our last legislative session, where they were talking about having a high-risk protection order. It's also known as a red flag law. And if there had been those laws in place when the incidents happened in Parkland, Florida, where law enforcement had 39 contacts with this individual that was in crisis, they would have been able to take the weapons, put them in safekeeping through due process while this person stabilized, and then they could have their weapons.
Okay, we don't have a ton of time left, but real quick, are you for universal background checks?
I am for keeping guns out of the hands of the wrong people.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left, and I would like to know, you and your opponent both have a lot of experience, decades of experience with the Sheriff's Office, and just a quick glance at your platforms, they're not dramatically different. So what sets you apart from your opponent?
So ultimately, I have more experience than my opponent. 20 of my 26 years with the Sheriff's Office was as a supervisor. My opponent has 21 years in the agency as a whole. I didn't have an individual that helped me up in my career. I might have swam upstream while other people were on a raft. It's a way of putting it. And I'm not here to badmouth my opponent. I just know that there needs to be true change. He had the opportunity when he was there to make that change. He was in a high-level position, and it didn't happen.
Okay, a little less than a minute left. What's your final message to voters?
I'm Heidi Howe. Please vote for me. I really want to work hard to make this community all that it can be. And when I had my why I'm doing this, it's because how we treat people matters. Whether you're a citizen of this community, whether you're an offender that comes into custody, whether you are the hardworking men and women of the agency, it's all about respect. And that's what I want to bring back.
All right, Heidi Howe, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Sure appreciate it. Well, coming up on Face the State, we will hear from Heidi Howe's opponent, Darren Balaam. That is right after the break.